Friday night, but it's not, it's Thursday. You're not fools, you're not idiots, you know what day it is. It's the day Virgil van Dijk has renewed his contract with Liverpool. I've got a Celtic fringe at Nova Scotia. I've got Kev Reilly, Andy Bell and Craig Hannan. The seagulls are swirling around us as we sit out here right by the Canal Basin. You might be able to see the Museum of Liverpool in the background somewhere. All fantastic stuff, and a pleasure to be here. And a pleasure to be in Virgil van Dijk full world. Virgil van Dijk full world for 2 more years.
The big man stays, sticks around to win more trophies, score more winners, head more balls to himself. Is my favourite genre that Virgil van Dijk is involved in. Look, it feels big. It feels like the one that we've sort of been expecting would get done from the start, but having got to this stage where it's mid-April and we're on the precipice of a league title, it just felt like, well, what you had that worry of what if it doesn't, but here he is, he's staying. And you know, I love the videos and all of the quotes that have come out, because he's very much like, obviously they're staying because they want to win and they want to continue to win, and they have won bits but they want more. I love how in the contract he's getting pretty much the same money, but he can make massive money if based on performances.
Team performance, not
yeah, but that's big. He's the captain, you know, so he's at the forefront of this. Yeah, it's his team. So look, I'm made up. I'm so excited by it, particularly going into this weekend, which is a weekend that Liverpool potentially can win the league. I have this sneaky, frisky feeling that it might be this one. I know people don't want to hear that, but with the Easter Monday on Monday, I'm feeling a big Sunday night at Anfield.
A big Sunday night?
Big Sunday night. I know the game's in Leicester, but when they get back, I think there's going to be big celebrations on the Sunday night. I can feel it, I'm sensing it, Neil. It's in my bones.
Well, we'll get on to that in a minute, by the way. It seems so in your bones, I don't know what I'm going to do with it all. Try not to spill any on the Erdinger. There is with it, Andy. I think the idea of he's here to win. The same with Salah, but also the money they're commanding suggests that Liverpool also think they're going to win, if that makes sense. You know, you give these players, Liverpool could have let all 3 go, and they could have said, you know what, this season's this season and it's a full reset. But for me, by virtue of giving them the money, it just sort of suggests the whole club's attitude is win now. I think there's a bit of planning for the future as well, don't get me wrong, but the club's attitude is let's just win now.
Especially given what we know about FSG and Michael Edwards' general outlook about paying players big money and putting them on big contracts into their 30s. We know it's not ideally what they want to do. And if these weren't the 2 best players in the world in their position, they probably wouldn't be doing it, but they are the 2 best players in the world in their positions, and they've done it, and they're here to stay. And you know, they're both players that for whom, you know, they don't overly rely on pace. I mean, we joke that Virgil van Dijk, he's probably had to sprint 2 or 3 times in his entire Liverpool career, and one was in the Champions League final against Spurs. And you know, Salah the same, is so tricky. He doesn't really rely on his pace anymore. So these are players who can, in my opinion, play right up until their late 30s, possibly even into their 40s. The way they keep themselves, fit, they're absolutely at the top.
So is your position as of today, sign them up again?
Is
that where you are already? Are you going to start the clamour? Are you the first to call for it? You know, is it a lack of ambition not to get them signed until 2029?
We'll see in a couple of years, but definitely it's the right call to get them locked down now. I think I was saying maybe previously on another show, you know, if one goes, it looks like Trent is going to go, then we can do a bit of replacement. We don't necessarily have to replace that position. If 2 or 3 of your best players go, then you know a transition becomes a complete upheaval of the squad, and that's just not what we need at this time, where we're competing for all the trophies, where we're the best team in the country by a mile, and we want to be that sort of going forward in the next couple of years.
When Mo Salah watches this video, he's going to start wearing Andy Bell pyjamas off the back of this early 40s chat. I think it's fair to say. But I think there is something with Virgil where, you know, for me, Kev, I'm quite of the view that even the worst possible case scenario, which is, I think he's really good next year, and it begins to decline a little bit the year after. And I agree with Andy. I don't think that is necessarily what we'll see. But even that gives you the idea of his leadership, the idea of what he is to this club off the pitch. It gives you all of those things that Virgil van Dijk can offer.
Yeah, and you know, the magic word this season tends to be transition. We talk a lot about transition. With players.
There's a lot of seagull action behind me.
Yeah, it was absolutely massive. Sorry,
they're all massive. There's no small ones in this city.
It was like Virgil van Dijk, just an absolute colossal. Yeah, in terms of like it being a transition season, it wouldn't have been great for a leader like him to go and then, you know, somebody else comes in, because it's not just the players on the pitch, it's the leadership team that we're talking about. 2 huge members of the leadership team, and then if you throw Andy Robertson into that, it's another one where there's a contract situation coming up there and looming. So to have him for 2 more years to sort of ease in the next new sort of, not replacement for Virgil van Dijk, but somebody who needs to be taught the ethos of this club, what it's like to play for this club, what it's like to play with Virgil van Dijk, and I think the main winner in this is us, and the second biggest winner in this is Konate, because I think he just absolutely loves playing with Virg, and I'm looking forward to loads and loads of great experiences with them too, just leading the back line.
I think that there's something, I think you've got to be careful not to almost over-analyse one or two aspects of this for me, Craig. One of the best things about keeping Virgil van Dijk for 2 more years is watching Virgil van Dijk for 2 more years. Like, that is where I am in the ground. I often say I've got this lovely seat on row 30 and it's around the halfway line, and when they're kicking towards the Kop, there'll be times where Virgil, I'll just have right down the line of Virgil opening his body up and pinging it to Salah. I feel like that's one of the best passes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it sort of isn't one of the best passes you've ever seen, because he does it every week, twice, if need be. And that is, for me, that is one of the best things about having Virgil van Dijk, is you get to watch him play football.
Yeah, massively. I have this thing about how many Liverpool players during this era have redefined my idea of what greatness is in that position, and Virgil has done that. There's always this sort of debate around. I've seen Carragher with it recently, and they talk about John Terry and Rio Ferdinand and all of this. None of these players were doing what Virgil does in terms of the way he's able to almost start Liverpool's attack, how high up he's able to play. Obviously his defensive capabilities, but as a footballer, he's given us incredible moments. We're talking about this just days after we get a winner at Anfield, where Anfield explodes. He has probably given me my most enjoyable day out in terms of the goal in the League Cup final that he scores, and the fact that is the first trophy that he lifts as captain. There's more of those to come. There's one on the horizon, you hope, but there's many more after that. And he's just a footballer that when you've got him in your back line, you feel like anything's possible. He's one that when the chips are down and things are going against you, as long as you've got him there, that he'll be able to sort of, steady the trip and calm everyone down and hold on to what we have, or push, as you say, to for something that we don't have already. So it just feels brilliant. He's a footballer we all love, don't we? There's
the calm as you like thing, but the thing I actually really love from Virgil, and I think it's in some of the stuff that he said, the comments that he's made, is I actually think he's quite deeply emotional, and especially where the football's concerned. I always love that shot where he collapses after Erdinger scores in the Champions League final. Like, I've given everything. I'm sure at that point, if you'd have looked at him 60 seconds earlier, you'd have said Virgil looks like he's only just started playing, and then Erdinger scores and he collapses when he scores that goal that Craig refers to in the League Cup final, and he just sort of goes from all grace to, oh my God, what a thing. I love all that about him. I like the idea that he's dead cool until he isn't.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it with the previous manager that we had, Jurgen Klopp, and obviously Arne Slot is this in a separate way, in his own different way, but they are both emotionally very attached to the club, and I think you need that if you're Liverpool captain. It's not just like any other football club. You need to have that attachment with the fans. You need that emotion, and you can do that whilst remaining extremely calm in terms of what you do in the pitch. But I think it's been telling in terms of the big wins that we've had this season. Man City, it's Virgil and Alisson who go straight over to each other. There's an outpouring of emotion, even though for 90 minutes it's full professionalism, it's full calmness. Then there's that outpouring of emotion. I think there's another game, I think it might be Wolves, where we were really hanging on towards the end, we're really hanging on towards the end, and then again there he's the one going over to the Kop, giving it loads to the Kop, and that's what it's been recently. And you sort of, there are certain signs that a result is a big result in the players' eyes. With Jurgen, it used to be sort of he'd go over to the Kop and he'd do the fist pumps. He didn't do it sort of any old game. Gerrard used to take his top off, Fulham away, 13-14. That's when he knew we were absolutely in a title race. Salah the same, takes his top off for big goals. And when I see Virgil and Alisson going over together, embracing, giving it loads to the Kop, that's something that doesn't happen every week. Harvey Elliott goes over and does it every week, let's be crystal clear, but not every player does that, and Virgil is that, and that's when I sort of knew that this season was special, and that they believed as much as we believed that it's going to turn into something special, which it is.
Okay, we are in Nova Scotia with Erdinger and Seagulls. It's a pleasure to have one. We could do without the other. I'll let you decide by means of this break.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop!
Don't forget the best bit.
Welcome back. It is a pleasure to be with Erdinger. It's great to be at Nova Scotia. It's nice to be outside before a big weekend. Kevin, is a big weekend. It's a big Sunday, but it's also a big weekend full stop. People get to relax a little bit if they choose to, and indulge in the festivities if that's the way in which they want to go as well. You know, a number of different ways to do that. A weekend like this. There used to be this thing growing up, the idea of you'll know where you are for the league when it comes to Easter. Well, I'll tell you what, that's sort of by this time out. Liverpool could win it Easter Sunday.
Yeah, it's massive. And I think back to the last opportunity that we had to win it, you know, and I was just, you know, sitting in my house at the time watching Arrival on my own. Only my partner was there. We were in lockdown together, and you know, I remember back on that, and as fun and as great as that was, it's nowhere near as fun as it is now, because we're reveling in it, we're enjoying it with friends, we're enjoying it with family. It's absolutely huge. So any time it gets to the point where you could win the league on a weekend, it's massive, and the fact that it's Easter is just even better. Craig was saying before we went on air, you know, we've got Monday off, so it's all the reason to go absolutely massive on a Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't expect Arsenal to have any problems, but I mean, they had a really, really tough match against Real Madrid. They beat them comfortably, but they rang their legs off, and I thought Rice in particular looked absolutely knackered. So there's always that doubt, you know, there's every chance that Arsenal could go into that game and have trouble, but yeah, we'll need to see. I'm just hoping that we do the business on the day as well.
It's the double-header nature of it. Both are away at sides that are going to get relegated, it's worth saying. I think Ipswich seem a lot less sad than Leicester, which... No, I'm going to say that is a feeling. I don't think that is. That's actually quite a significant tactical analysis from me. I'll say it again, maybe with a chalkboard. Ipswich seem a lot less sad than Leicester, which, you know, they were 2-0 up against Chelsea. They got themselves ahead in the game before, I think, against Wolves. Listen, they don't win any of these games. This is the problem, Craig. But they've shown the ability to score first in matches is my key point here. And if you are Arsenal and it's 65 and they have got 1-0 up, you could just see a thing where you could be a bit like, oh, lads, we've done our big business for the week. Should we just get off?
I always love Damien's line about the Lord Mayor's show, and last night feels like that for Arsenal. That feels like the big one that they put all of the energy in, as Kev said. But look, I'm not expecting it, but I've just got this little feeling, this little and I think it's just because we're so close now. I'm not even worrying about, I haven't looked at how Leicester are doing. I know they've done shit and no one's enjoying themselves, and I'm sure they've been beaten, in most games recently, all of that. But I haven't been looking at it because it's the sprint to the finish now. Like, it's just on us. It doesn't matter who's running alongside of us.
We win the next two, we've won the league.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you're that close to the thing that we've longed for, and the idea of being able to enjoy it together, whether it is an away end of 3,000 or whether it's a ground of 60,000 the following week. That's what we all hope. That little frisky number in the middle with Palace is the one that we're all looking at and going, I think we'll all be watching that game cheering Arsenal goals. I'll be honest. If I'm being honest. Because
Craig, I'm not that far away from wishing they'd have got something against Brentford. Genuinely, I'm not that far away from wishing they'd have just beat Brentford.
Why did Van Dijk score the winner?
No. I think we had to win. If not, it would have got sticky. But I've got a little bit of a thing where if they'd have actually made it 2-1 against Brentford, there you might have ended up going, well, at least we know it's not Easter weekend. As it is, though, it would be exciting if it was Easter weekend.
Yeah. Massively. But I think this is how we know we're spoiled. This is how we know that things have gone so well that we're thinking about picking and choosing based on what works of our own social lives and the bank holidays. But look, I think no matter what happens, whether it is in the ground in Leicester at the King Power, whether it's at Anfield, or if it's all together in a pub, it's all together. That's the key thing about this title win. That's the thing that I've just been waiting for so long, as everyone else has. We're not sat in houses anymore or having to watch outside and then run out onto the street afterwards. It's one where we're able to properly celebrate afterwards. We're able to enjoy them and sort of celebrate with them at next weekend if that is the case and it's done before then. But if not, imagine that game at Anfield next week. Imagine it. How does that feel in the build up to it? Because we've had that.
I think what you decided is there's no bad way to win the league.
No, we've had this feeling of going to Anfield and on that day potentially being able to win the league. We've had that, but it's been times where none of us have really believed that it's going to happen, and this time it will if it comes to it.
What should he do? I think it's interesting he actually made more changes, or changes I didn't necessarily expect last week. I think if he'd have said to me beforehand, as I said, he probably just runs the boys again, but he doesn't. He's smart with Jones. He decides to go with Shimakass as well, which came as a little bit of a surprise to me. What do you think he does here for Leicester? I'll say again, they have been pretty miserable for a good old while. They finished 2-2 last week, but the expected goals against was about 4 in total. You know, they got a bit lucky.
Yeah, I ended up watching the game last week, and I was telling you beforehand, I was in a last man standing competition, and my rival had Brighton at home to Leicester, so stuck it on in the hope that they might get something, and they did. But you're right, it was like watching from behind the sofa at times. I mean, not only the number of chances that they gave up, but the quality of the chances. I mean, Brighton could have had 5 or 6 quite easily. That said, you know, they did look relatively dangerous in the break. I think Mavididi, I don't know really what's happened to him this season. Has he been injured? But he looks okay. He looks like the sort of type of player who, if Sunderland come up next year, he could be their first sub. In a way, if they're playing on the break. So, you know, they do have some quality, but what I would say to that is we have the centre half partnership, which is probably the best at defending against counter-attacks on the planet, so we should be able to deal with that okay. They're a very, very leaky football team. I don't really think it matters overly what side we put out. I think we're going to get quite a comfortable win on the weekend. I do think he'll just go for the boys again. I think Robertson comes back in, a little bit of a break now. He'll have a week and a half off. And when he's had time, and when he's had time off and time to recover, and when he's looked fresh, he has looked back to himself at times this season, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. Sort of Jones or Szoboszlai is the other one. Don't get me wrong, like, I would love to see Chiesa and Elliott start. How exciting would that be? 3:30, the team comes through, you've got Chiesa and Elliott there, and you know, that would be exciting. I just don't think it's what he's going to do, and to an extent, if he doesn't trust these players and he isn't going to go for these boys next season, I would rather he just sort of breeds the rest of the team in. And I suppose then the only other question is if Trent's fit, and what you do with Alexander-Arnold. I'm not in favour of completely banishing him, because if Conor Bradley gets injured, we have to watch Jarell Quansah at right back, and I'm not into that in any way, shape or form, to be honest, in terms of what I enjoy doing on my Sunday. But simultaneously, I think you go for Bradley as very much your number one until the end of the season, and you bring Trent in when it means giving Bradley 20 minutes off here and there.
That's what I think is the smart play with right back, to be honest with you. I think it's Bradley in for this one. You might even rethink it before Tottenham, you might rethink it before Arsenal, but for this one I just think you just expect it to be Bradley. What do you think he does at number 9?
That's the big one, isn't it? Because there's the I felt like Gakpo did really well when we played Leicester in December. I think he gets a goal in that one. It's a big one for me because I can't think of another team that's got 2 left wingers of that quality. At the start of the season, I always thought this might be Luis Diaz's last season with us, but now I think there's absolutely no chance of that. I think he's magnificent. I think he's been fantastic this season. Probably his best season in a Liverpool shirt. But it's quite interesting how he likes to sort of chop and change the two. You ask about the 9. The reason I'm talking about the wingers is because does he put Diaz back in the middle so that he can keep Gakpo on the left for this one? I think Nunez isn't starting. There's every chance that he puts Jota in again. I think it'll be
Jota.
I think that there's a shout for that, because I think that in the last game there against West Ham, he did really well. And you know, we know that our number 9 isn't there just to score goals. He's got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of tracking back to do. He's got a lot of work there. And I think that out of the different the different tendencies that we've got for our players, Jota's probably the best one to be able to do those many different roles. So yeah, toss up between those two. Probably Jota. But I think Gakpo will be back in. I hope Gakpo's back in.
Big question of the weekend. How many Easter eggs are in your boot?
Got 5 at the minute.
Just 5?
I got rid of one last night.
When you say you got rid of one, you mean you ate one?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I added this plan around stockpiling them because they're soon to be limited edition, aren't they? So I thought I'd stockpile them, but the stockpile hasn't gone that well, and they're in my boot, and so I'll eat them. But I might bring one to the game. You'll be beside me. It's Easter Sunday, you know.
Lovely. Yeah, crack open an egg at half time. At the time of our lives.
Yeah.
We won't know what's hit us. We're going to go to the pub as well, but that's just the massive cheese and onion cops.
Oh, yes.
The huge cops in Leicester. They're going to win, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to win. I know there's been a little bit of worry around how they've played, and you know, people seem to have this measurement of what all of these past champions were. That is, I think someone called it like fake nostalgia, which is, you know, Liverpool have won 5 of the past 6, as you said in Sky earlier, in the league. They're at top of the form table, the top of the pops on the league table. They're going to beat Leicester, who are dreadful.
Top of the ELO table as well in Europe.
They're fucking top of everything.
The ELO.
Yes. And and I think we're all in for a big weekend anyway, but I've got a sneaky suspicion we might be in for a bigger one. All I'm saying is, make sure you do your Easter Sundays on Saturday.
It's a great way to think of it, a fabulous way to think of it. LFC, top of it all, TOTP, and top of the Electric Light Orchestra. One for the teenagers. It's Friday night on Thursday, and we're going to put Andy Bell out of his seagull-based misery. We'll see you later. Have a fantastic weekend, whatever you're doing up the Reds.